What's up, guys? It's Bree and I'm back with another video, and today I'm doing a questions and expectations for the show Poppa's House. So, have you had any questions? Are you even watching Poppa's House? Go ahead and watch it. Formulate your questions and come back so I can ask my questions and talk about some stuff that I would be interested in seeing. So, if you're interested, stay tuned.
Alright, they asking for the queen. I'm a bad bitch, she's a savage. Look back while I twerk. No comparison.
Guys, let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's give kind of just a brief explanation about what Poppa's House is if you're living under a rock and haven't heard about it. So Poppa's House is basically a show. It is starring Damon Wayans and Damon Wayans Jr. as they play father and son. Poppa, played by Damon Wayans Sr., is a longtime radio DJ. At the beginning of the show, he ends up leaving his job because they want to make him corporate. They're only worried about the numbers, and they want him to basically change up who he is, what made him him. So he decides to leave that show, and he ends up starting a podcast at the advice of his son, Damon Wayans Jr. His name on the show is Damon, but I think their last name is... Anyway, doesn't matter. And basically Poppa has a show. He has a podcast with Dr. Ivy Reed, who is one of the people who his previous employer wanted to pretty much replace him with. Poppa runs the show from his house. He is a retired man. Well, not retired. He is a divorced man, but he's very much old. Love being old like that. Damon Wayans Jr., he lives next door to Poppa. He is married. He has 2 children. And he is an aspiring director. He currently works at a foam massage roll company, which is owned by his father-in-law, played by Elvin from Cosby Show. I don't know his real name. Sorry about that, Elvin. Love you. And he does not like that job. He basically has that job as income, but that's not where he wants to be. Which is confusing to me because, well, as you kind of see where I'm going to go with my questions, he doesn't seem to be doing enough to try to live his dreams. But let's go ahead and jump into our questions. So number 1, how long has Poppa been famous? Like, I want to know that because the show basically stars, they live in New York. It took me a while to really realize that. They live in New York. What station was he on? Like, was he was he playing music? Now, he does play music on his corporate job and also on his podcast with Dr. Reed, which is also confusing to me because I didn't really know podcasts to do music like that. But, let me know. Also, like, how long has he been famous? Because it seems like people know who he is, but they also don't know who he is. Like, even older people who he seems to come in contact with, they don't really seem to be, like, fazed by him or care about him. And I feel like they could have done some kind of crossover talking about some of the other actual real life, well-known, famous DJs, radio personalities in New York. I feel like that's a lost opportunity, or maybe they just haven't gotten there yet. We'll see. Number 2, since doing the podcast, has his fame changed? And has he reached a wider audience? Similar to my first question, like, how long have you been famous? And it has, like, when I say has his fame changed, like, with podcasting can open you up to an audience that didn't know you in your original claim to fame. And it will open up your audience base to a wider audience. Especially since his podcast is different from his radio show because he has a co-host now, Dr. Reed. She's a woman, she's younger, and she is also a fan of Poppa. She pretty much not grew up listening to him, but he helped her get through some hard times when she would listen to his radio show. So I feel like, especially with the range of topics that they kind of talk about, I wonder if his fame has become a little bit more well-known, and I wonder if his fame kind of helped the podcast get branched out, as well as Dr. Reed, because she has a book. People know her. She has her own podcast or radio show. So I wonder, has that been able to help expand or branch out the podcast that way? With the way the podcast is going, what are the goals for it? Now, it seems like they kind of did this podcast as a way to kind of like keep their, like, keep their, I don't want to say their name out there, but like keep their name out there in the podcasting world, in the broadcasting world. But it's like they don't seem to have a real like goal. It seems like they're just doing it. But it's like, what are you doing? Are you just doing this? Like, what is the goal? Do you want to make it big? Do you want to have your own radio show? Do you want to be like one of the bigger podcasts out there? Like, are you trying to have guests on the show? Like, they don't really talk about that. And I feel like that's something that they probably should, because then they'll be able to like market themselves better, maybe get ad space, stuff like that. Like, there's an episode where they're trying to get more people to listen to the podcast. And that's the same episode where Junior is trying to get Poppa to pay for the son Trey to go to private school. And Poppa doesn't believe in private school. He thinks it makes kids soft, yada, yada, yada. Because that's basically what happened to his kid. That he went to this private school and he is soft. And he definitely is, which I will get to in my questions, because I have questions. But yeah, like he's just like, I don't really know about that or whatever. But Trey, the grandson, who, mind you, I think he's probably like between 6 and 8 years old. 6 and 8 years old. He's like, you should put it on t-shirts. By the end of the episode, Trey, he plays with some stuff at the private school where he does put a QR code on a t-shirt, and the QR code links to the Poppa's House podcast. So it's like, oh my God, this is the perfect way to market the podcast. I feel like they could be doing other stuff to market the podcast. And it's like, especially because I don't want to say they're both older, but it's like they aren't as in touch with the podcasting world, or they don't really know as much about it as they could. And especially with it being so popular, I feel like it should. But I also feel like the person who suggested it to them, Junior, should be more involved and be helping them with that. Yeah. Does Dr. Reed's clients... Oh yeah, does Dr. Reed see clients, or does she only write books? Now, when we first meet her in the very first episode, we kind of learn a little bit about her. She has her own radio show in the corporate offices that Poppa's House is in, which is why the offices, like the bigwigs, were trying to get them to connect with each other and work together. But she also wrote a book, and she also sees clients. So she says, since she started working with Poppa, now mind you, this is only small bits of the day. However, it seems like now that she works with Poppa, their life kind of revolves around each other, and they kind of, hers around him. I wouldn't say the other way around, but it's like, it doesn't seem like she does anything else outside of that. Now, she's more of like a mind doctor. She's like a psychiatrist or a therapist or something like that. So it's like, okay, do you see people or do you only write books? And she has best-selling books. But it's like after she gets on the show with Poppa, she almost seems kind of like, I don't want to say a dumb blonde, but she seems so ditzy. And like her books are like dumb. And it's like, obviously that's probably just for comedic effect, right? Of course. However, it's like, shouldn't you actually though be kind of esteemed? Like, I get if you don't see clients anymore, but this podcast isn't even really popping off like that. Do they even have sponsors? No. So it's like, where are you getting paid? You're not getting paid from this podcast. Are you still seeing clients? Are you writing more books? Are you in the process of writing a book? Like, that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out, because it's to me, it seems as though with Dr. Reed being popular as an author, psychologist, and all that kind of stuff, I feel like even with that, she could have brought some of her audience over to her show. I feel like there's missed opportunities, and I feel like, now, I'll say this. Most of my questions, I feel like a lot of times it's because it's the first season. And I get it, okay? I get it. The first season, sometimes if you start too slow, people aren't interested. They're like, this is boring. I don't want to watch it. But sometimes if you kind of, go too fast and you kind of just put all this information out there without explaining certain things, people are now confused. Where it's like, how did you get here? Wait, why is this happening? Wait, how is this if you said this? So I feel like that's something that they're not thinking about here. And I feel like, I'll talk about it later, but I feel like that's something that also is a missed opportunity. Like, they're not utilizing her smarts in the way that they should be. Now, she does say smart things on the show, kind of helps Poppa kind of reach into himself and be more vulnerable and talk about things that are hurting him or make him feel a certain way, or stuff that affected him in childhood that are now coming back out as he is a parent. But I feel like other things she talks about besides that, she just sounds like, girl, no one's trying to hear that. Like, that's what it seems like to me. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Oh, sorry. Another branch off of that. What is her professional background? Because, like, what are you known for that made you start writing these books that even got you to being your own radio host? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I thought I had more to that. Here we go. What is the age difference between all the characters? I want to understand the ages, because I feel like it's not really talked about that much. Like I said, I know that there's Poppa, right? There's Poppa. Then there's Dr. Reed. Well, no. Poppa and Nina's dad. Nina is Junior's wife. They grew up together. Him, and the mom, Tasha Mack. I only know her as Tasha Mack. I don't even know what her name is on the show. They all grew up together. So, okay, they're all in the same age group. Dr. Reed is right under there. Or is Dr. Reed in Junior in them age group? I think she is, but I think she's older than them. Can't tell. Junior and Nina met in college, I think they said. So, okay, they're in the same age group. Then you got the kids. The little boy and the little girl, to me, they seem like they're the same age. And they probably are in real life, right? But in the show, the boy is older than the girl. Maybe by like a year or two. So very, very close. What are the age differences? Because I feel like there is, like, the show definitely talks about, like, the generations. But I feel like if they kind of defined it a little bit more, they would be able to lean into it more. Because I feel like right now it's somewhat vague. So it's a little bit hard to follow. And I feel like certain storylines that they try to use would be better received if that is more so laid out. Like, especially with the fact that, Poppa won't talk about his feelings, bottle stuff up, the way he feels about certain personal issues or stuff that's going on in the world or whatever. I feel like it's because of his age group, the generation that he grew up in. However, with Junior, he's more open and all that kind of stuff, but it's not only because of his age, but also just his upbringing and stuff like that. But I feel like all of that ties in together. Even with the fact that Trey is smart enough to think about even putting a QR code onto the shirt for advertising. Something so small and minute. And it's like, he thought about that before anybody else. And it's like, because he's what? I think they're supposed to be Gen Z, but with his age, he probably Gen Alpha. I don't know. So that's something that I think they should think about and maybe try to lean into more. So I think it would be more enjoyable, and that way you'll be able to target audiences from all age groups. Maybe not the children, because I don't see children tuning into this program. However, like, if you're watching it in your home and then you have kids and they walking around, they can relate to certain things in the program as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right. Number 6. Do Poppa and Tasha Mack... I'm going to learn her name in this show. That's my bad, y'all. Do Poppa and Tasha Mack have more kids? If so, how many? Their sexes, and will we see any of them? So, I don't think that they thought about this. However, I feel like it would make more sense if they had at least another kid or maybe 2 other kids. Especially with the way that, I don't want to say that Junior doesn't make Poppa proud, but it's like, he is such a sucker. Like, it's like you went to private school, you went to our school, you seem so soft, you don't know how to be a parent to your kids. Your dad has to teach you how to stand up to your children in adulthood after you already have the kids. You don't want to provide, like, you will provide for your kids with the job that your father-in-law had to give you. Your father-in-law had to give you money to buy a house. And it's like, you're not even, like, you don't have the ambition enough to try to succeed within the company that your father-in-law is allowing you to work in, not even showing the initiative enough to be like, okay, let me use my skill set in filmmaking at this company. Let me make some commercials. Let me do the advertising, anything like that. No. He also doesn't have the ambition to let me try to pursue my actual goal on the side in a way that makes sense. Because in the very first episode, he gets fired because he decided to skip out on a meeting to go do this pitch audition or whatever, which he didn't get. And mind you, he says that's not the first time that he skipped out on clients to go do these auditions or whatever he's doing. I feel like he should be thinking smarter. And it's like, if they had more kids, I feel like that would have been a perfect way for them to have like Poppa kind of like praise another kid more, or stuff like that. Because it seems like this program, they're trying to, like, they are close. However, they're trying to be closer emotionally, which you see every episode they do get closer emotionally. And they are close, obviously, in proximity because they live right next door to each other. But I feel like if they had that, they could use that for more of a storyline where it's like, my dad was always close to that one because they share the same interests. They did this and this and this. And then you could explain why they're not really on the show like that, because they are out living their adult lives. You know what I mean? Because, like, for instance, because something I would love, even though it wouldn't make sense because she doesn't look like them, she looks like Tasha Mack. Like, they could have even had Glorilla kind of like guest star on the show, but she wouldn't play like herself. She could play like another big pop star or something like that, and be like, oh, she took after my dad in the music thing and the DJing thing to the point where she was able to become a famous DJ, a famous, whatever. Or the son, like, oh, he was more tough. He has a good job over here. He does this, XYZ 1, 2, 3. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be interesting. And then I also would like to see more of like a dynamic, because it seems like, I don't want to say that Junior uses his parents against each other, like pits them against each other. However, he does, because he will bring the mom in to get money out of the dad, because the only person that can is the mom. Which, side note, in that episode about the private school stuff, right? They had the dinner to try to get Poppa to pay for the school. They also tried to ask Nina's dad to pay for the school, and he was like, I pay for this house, I ain't paying for nothing else. Like, no. And Papa's like, no, I don't believe in that. They invited the mom specifically to try to get the dad to pay for it. Don't I pay you alimony? And he says that every episode. Don't I pay you alimony? Why are they not asking her to chip in for it? Something to think about. And my thing is this: why are you worried about getting your kid into private school when your husband just almost lost the job that your dad tried to give you? Worry about getting yourself financially there. And my thing is, I get that private schools can be helpful, can be beneficial for kids in the long run, especially with the school that they were trying to get him in, is apparently has like a good pipeline to colleges and all that kind of stuff. It's the same school Dr. Reed went to. I get it. However, in this situation, it just didn't make sense. He does not need to go there. You have time. You could have saved up and sent him there for middle school, sent him there for high school. Like, I feel like right now they're just kind of pushing it, and it's like, relax. Especially because he was basically offered a spot. If he was offered a spot, why is there no financial aid? Did you apply for the financial aid? Because I know that these schools be having financial aid. Come on. And it's like, Nina, you a smart one. You should know that. Anyway. How did Nina and Junior meet? That's what I want to know. Because they have a very good relationship. She's super small. He's super tall compared to her. They seem to have good communication with each other in some aspects. However, in other aspects, they don't. They, in the first episode, they talk about how, they use strategies that they learned in, I guess, marriage counseling or something like that. I don't know if it's something that they do normally, like just as like regular maintenance, or something happened at some point. But I want to know how they met, because They seem to have different career paths, different, I don't want to say different interests, but like I haven't seen or heard them talk about any hobbies that seem to correlate with each other. Yeah, so I'm confused about that, or I would want to know how that happened. And they don't talk about any clubs or anything like that they're in. They don't really talk about college as much anymore. They only talk about like literally the present, what's happening right now. It doesn't seem like they're that aligned, besides the fact that they're already married. So I'm interested in that. And the fact that Junior's best friend from college does not even like Nina. There was an episode, what was it? Episode 10? Episode 10 or 11, where, you know, he comes into town because he's got like a movie premiere or something like that. He's flying out the next day, and they're practicing this movie that he made, like the script, and it's basically like a film where he's basically saying like, ditch Nina and these kids, they've always been holding you back. Here, come with me and live out our dream, basically, as filmmakers. And it's like, bro, I don't know. I am interested in that. I want some backstory. Especially because how did Junior convince Nina to marry him? Going back to this, because how long have y'all been married? Because I'm sorry, love is not enough. Love is not enough. And the love is there. It shows. It's clear. I get it. However, he acts too childish. Like their characters to me would make more sense if they were younger. If they were like fresher out of college, didn't have these kids, maybe only married for 2 years and they were together, including the marriage, for 7 years. So they met maybe freshman year or sophomore year, and they dated all through college, got married right out of college, but then situations happened that now that's where they are. But they're still young enough to be like kind of still in like the first beginning stages of marriage. That would have made more sense to me personally. But maybe because Damon Jr. doesn't look that young, even though I feel like he could have maybe shaved or whatever. But I feel like if they just kind of presented it to us, we would have taken it. I don't feel like he looks super, super old, which is why their ages to me, I would want to know more about. I feel like you can't convince me that you still want to be married to him when basically Nina is pulling the weight of the relationship. Finance-wise, parenting-wise, responsibility-wise. Like, I don't know. I'm just confused because explain to me. Explain to me. Because you're not that cute. Your hair is uneven. You look dusty. I'm sorry. I just, no. Number 9. Why has Junior not been able to work as a director? Another question I want to know. This goes back to what I mentioned about the ambition. Because clearly, you couldn't get a job as like a big Hollywood director. Sure, that's not easy for anybody. However, you're a Nepo baby. I mean, your dad's in broadcasting, but you got some connections. Okay. You aren't in the marketing agency or in the marketing side of your business. You're not even interested in marketing at all, which you probably should be, because that would have been an easier way to get into directing in some capacity. You're not filming anything on the side. When you're not at work, that's it. You would rather skip work to do freelance BS directing jobs that turn out to be nothing. Rarely. You want to direct Poppa's autobiography documentary. That was a great idea. I love that idea. However, after the first episode, he quit that. He's not doing that no more. Why are you not doing that anymore? He should still be filming this. He's not. The podcast. A lot of podcasts obviously are audio. You listen to them just audio. But a lot of podcasts do video. Why are you not directing their video content for the podcast? Why are you not offering to shoot commercials, stuff for other content creators anything. I feel like what would have been great is if he was like, I want to be a director. I can't get the job yet, so I'm working with my father-in-law at a company. I don't like doing this, but I also shoot random stuff for people just to kind of keep my stuff fresh, so that when I'm ready, I'm ready. That would have made more sense. That also would have been a way to show his like drive and initiative, show that, oh, that's actually what I want to do. But also would have just been a good way to kind of just keep, like, to just have side hijinks, side little stuff happening all the time. That would have been funny. Yeah, podcast. Okay, so boom. This is the stuff I said that he should have been doing. Podcast directing, indie movies, commercials, online creators, etc. I feel like he isn't doing enough, which goes back to, where is your ambition? Which goes back to, Nina, love is not enough. Okay, and number 10, this is the last one. Was Poppa and Nina's dad ever actually friends? So they always have a back and forth. They always have a slick comment to say, always have a little jab to go back with each other. And in the first episode or second episode, Nina's dad mentions that he beat up Poppa in the 70s. Like, they got into a fight and he won. And he's like, oh, why you always bringing that up? Da, 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 da. Okay. We know that there's history here, but what all's happening? Like, I feel like I want to know more about that. And it's like, is this just how y'all are as friends? Because you know how there's those friends where it's like, every time they're around each other, all they do is bicker. All they do is argue about small little things, petty little things. And it's like, did y'all ever like each other? Was there ever any love here? And it's like, that's what it kind of gives me. So I want to know. Like, I would love to see some like flashback episodes or something like that. I think that would be comical. That would be funny. And it would add some lore to their backstories. So something to think about, y'all. Yeah. Alright, y'all. Let's get into these expectations for Poppa's House. Now, like I said, I really enjoy this show. I like all the weigh-in stuff. So, like, I'm expecting another season guaranteed. However, I also would like to see some more so that they give it some substance. Because right now, I can understand why people are calling it lame. I can. Sorry. Let's go ahead and just jump into it. I don't want to make this too long. So Poppa and Ivy will get together. I called that from the very first episode. Poppa and Ivy gonna get together. But I feel like it's gonna be a slow burn, which I hope it is. Like, it's gonna go from strangers to co-workers to friends to good friends to, you know, more. That's literally what I said. That's so funny. Each episode, Ivy helps Poppa work through an issue with his son and or answers questions that reveal something vulnerable about himself. Like, the very first thing that she really got him to open up about is what he misses about being married. And it's like, just because you're not with a person anymore, just because they get on your nerves, they always ask for alimony, all that kind of stuff, you can still miss things about being married. I just don't want to be married to you anymore, but I still miss things about being married. So that's something I can see happening. And they be flirting a little bit every now and then. Like, they started flirting a lot more, like, every now and then. Like, especially after the, what is it? I just was talking about the private school one where Tasha Mack is first introduced. She was making little, like, comments about, like, oh, it's your little girlfriend, it's your little whatever. It's like, girl, no. Like, no. He is disgusting. But also, she said that he was, like, that she was a fan of him. So she idolizes him a little bit. And they've gotten closer. You know, she's always around his family. So, yeah, I see that happening. Let's see. Sibling reveal or a visit, like I said. I feel like we will have an episode where either we'll meet a sibling or a child of Poppa, Junior, Nina, and or Ivy. So I think we're gonna meet like an uncle or an aunt of Poppa or something like that. Maybe of Nina, because Nina or her dad, they don't mention anything about her mom. Siblings, anything. Like they don't really talk about their upbringing. And I feel like they're doing that just in case they decide to bring on a character. I would like to see that. Or even of Ivy, because we don't really know a lot about Ivy except for that she was married and that she has a bunch of cats. But I would like to see some more like about her, and maybe if they brought something like that on, we would see like a different side of her personality. So I would enjoy that. Nina and Junior split. Now, let me tell you this. I could see them breaking up for a while. Like, something will happen that will cause Nina to walk away from Junior. Either that he'll lose the job that her dad gave him again, bad reputation from a director's job, that episode where he made the commercial for her dad's business even though he didn't want to, and the commercial sucked, and that was Junior's fault if you ask me. But the guy who it was for, he loved it. But I feel like that's gonna do something racial, like I said in my expectations, like I said in my other video. But I feel like whatever he ends up doing is gonna like blow back on him negatively, impact his family, Poppa, etc. And they'll be like, you know what? I told you it was a bad idea. It was gonna be a big thing. Or Junior will feel disrespected by an unintentional act from Nina or something like that, like where she'll side with the dad or go to the dad for help or money or something like that without even talking to him, because she already knows that he doesn't have it or isn't capable of doing it. And he'll be like, oh, you know, I feel like you should come to me about these things, da 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 da, trying to make it like it's her, like as if she's in the wrong. Mind you, you probably didn't have it. You probably wouldn't have been able to do it or take it seriously or whatever, because he loves to joke around. And I feel like it would end in like a possible cliffhanger, and maybe it will be later on in the seasons, like maybe like season 3, 4, 5, something like that. But I feel like it will be a thing where they have the potential to break up, not in a way that Poppa and his wife did, because I feel like Poppa really tries to play a role in making sure that Junior is doing everything he can to maintain his marriage. He you know, loves the fact that they're married. He loves that they're together. He wants to make sure that whenever they have any kind of rifts or whatever, that he is there to help him and make sure that they stay together. So that I think will be something that would happen. I feel like it will, and I feel like that would be an opportunity to kind of help grow him up, so that way he knows, like, look, you need to do whatever you can to be the man of your family. Like, be the man who take charge. And I feel like they could either have them like be broken up for a long time and like be working through this stuff and then end up back together. But I feel like that wouldn't come until seasons later, that hopefully they do get. Number 4, the podcast grows, because that's the whole point of the show, right? The podcast. Poppa and Ivy's gain fame and opportunities, such as, from the show's popularity, such as Ivy writing a new book, Poppa or Ivy get into a relationship with either another celebrity or with each other for PR or for real. So they could either, you know, because they're so popular, people are trying to, you know, get with Poppa, people are trying to get with Ivy, or they'll do a PR relationship or something like that. Like if they get a management company or something like that to kind of promote them. Hey, this would be good for you. Hey, this would be good for you. Something like that. Or they could even PR date each other because people think that they're dating, or people they think that they like each other, and it could turn into something real. That could be one of the things that kind of get them together. They would get like a bigger set, a higher quality show, and like I said, signed to a network manager or an agent or something like that. And if they were to get a bigger set and higher quality show, wouldn't that be a good opportunity for Junior to direct something? Exactly. And lastly, some crossovers. Now, I would love crossovers. However, I don't know who is like over this Poppa's House program, like who's the showrunner, who's the writer, anything like that, because I've learned that a lot of these crossovers, sometimes they will go through the station like that they air on. So this airs on CBS and it's also tied in with Paramount. However, it's also sometimes tied in with the show runner. So I don't know who would be involved in that, but these are some ideas of crossovers that I would like to see or that I could see happening. So with either Neighbors, Abbott Elementary, Churchy, or the Miss Pat Show. Now for Churchy and Miss Pat, these two are less likely due to the networks, because Churchy and Miss Pat are on BET, and that is Viacom, which is different obviously from Paramount. Neighbors, Neighborhood with the Entertainer, I think that's on Fox or ABC, different thing. And then Abbott Elementary is also on Fox or ABC. But the only way that I could see them really crossing over, not necessarily necessarily like actually having the characters on the show or anything like that, but they could either have like Dr. Ivy reads books like in the background, or they mention it like, oh, well, I read in this book by Dr. Ivy, you know, just kind of like a passing thing. They could be listening to the podcast or mention something about the podcast, wearing merch like the tops, or have the mugs that they have, or they decide to go to a live taping of the show. But something for Miss Pat, even though her show is like, I don't know if they're going to have it cross over that much. Miss Pat as a guest star on the podcast. So because Miss Pat will go on tour. She's going to be traveling all kind of places. And now there'll be a good opportunity to kind of have her cross over with a bunch of shows. I.e., this is off topic, but Upshaws. I can definitely see that. And she, steps in as a podcast host. And especially with her having, not issues with her husband or something like that, but with the whole, well, we'll get back to that later. But basically, I could see that happening as a crossover episode. And that's about it, y'all. Like I said, cut and dry. It's still the first season. I think that they might be done. They are up to 13 episodes at the time of this recording. So I think they're done with season 1. I haven't heard anything, but if I do, I will let you guys know. But those are some things that I think that they should kind of think about as far as the storylines and the structuring of the characters, which would probably help with telling the story with more storylines in the future, as well as some of the jokes. So alright guys, so that is all for my questions and expectations of the show Poppa's House. So go ahead and watch the show, formulate your own questions, and if you have any questions to my questions or something to add, don't forget to put it in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a stranger to tell an enemy to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on my social media platforms. They will be down below as well as on the screen. I'm not going to ramble this time, so that's all, guys. Bye!
Look back while I twerk. No comparison.
I'm a savage, yeah. Classy, bougie, ratchet, yeah. Sassy, moody, nasty, yeah. Acting stupid, what was happening? What was happening?